Hello world, and welcome to this edition of Tech on Fire with Blaze. I'm Blaze Stewart, architect at Winelect, and today we're going to be looking at how to use secrets with Kubernetes. So what is a secret anyway? A secret in the context of any computing system is some sensitive piece of data that you don't want to be storing in some kind of unsecured location, such as a text file or some kind of configuration file or something like that. You want to manage that secret in such a way that it doesn't show up in logs. You want to make sure it doesn't show up in configurations. You don't want to make sure it doesn't show up in something like a DevOps pipeline. In other words, you want that secret to remain out of the eyes of those who have any kind of visibility into whatever system you're doing. And so the pattern that many people use is actually bake the secrets into the final deployment product, whatever that might be. And so that secret is a part of that final deployment. And so the secret never actually shows up until the app has actually been deployed into that final target environment. And for Kubernetes, that would be Kubernetes. And when you're talking about managing secrets into Kubernetes, you're basically saying you're going to import the secrets into Kubernetes prior to actually deploying whatever app you're going to be deploying to that. And then as part of the deployment of the application, you indicate where that secret is located on the device or that environment, but it's stored in a cryptographic way. And then when that secret is actually called upon by whatever app is running it, it is decrypted and then exposed to the app in such a way that it's not part of the configuration files, but rather something that's more in memory and has a transient life. So when that application shuts down, it goes away as well. So when we look at Kubernetes, we have a cluster, maybe something like this, where it's represented by this box. And then we have a secret that we want to put into Kubernetes. And we simply just use kubectl to tell that Kubernetes cluster what that secret is. And then Kubernetes then is going to store that in a cryptographically secure way so that it's just not generally exposed, but it's on the cluster now. And it's not something that I have to have external to my application. So then I deploy a pod to my cluster, and then that pod needs to access that secret. So as part of the manifest of that pod, what I need to do is then point to that secret, and then it is able to read that secret out of the Kubernetes cluster, and it gets exposed in a number of ways, either through a file or through some kind of environmental variable. Now, creating secrets is actually pretty easy. I'm here inside of a PowerShell command prompt that I have cd'd to a directory for my demos here. And I have a couple of secrets that I want to create. And I want to go ahead and just use the create command to create these. And it's really just pretty simple command that you can use in the command line. And there's a couple of ways you can do this. This way is using just string literals on the command line. And it's my preferred way of doing this because it doesn't leave any kind of files around on the file system that might have secrets embedded in this. And once I close this session, that this particular information will go away. If I have some kind of caching turned on, it would still be around, but it's otherwise. The command prompt is one way to do this. And so I'm going to go ahead and run this command. kubectl create secret generic app login, and then from literal, and then the username is equal to Blaze, and then from literal password equals 123, and then it's going to tell me that the secret app login was created. Now I've already configured this thing to connect to my Kubernetes cluster, and I've logged into that, and the Kubernetes cluster is up on Azure for this particular demo. Now that I've deployed that secret, there's a couple of ways I can access it. There's two ways that are principally used. One is through volumes, and the other one is through environment variables. And I'm going to use a volume for my first demo here. And this is the manifest file that I have that is going to access my secret that I just created. And I'm using a image called BusyBox, which is basically a image that has a lot of utilities installed on it already, and it's used for diagnosing things in Linux context. And so I can quickly create a BusyBox container on Kubernetes and have a lot of available commands without having to do any kind of apt-get commands on it. But in any case, I'm going to mount my secret into BusyBox as a secret volume, in this case, at this point right here, etc secret. And I'm going to indicate that I'm going to use this volume right here, secret vol, and that secret vol points to a secret named app login, which is the secret I just created from the command line. So let's go back over to my console here, and there's the secret I just created. So if I do kubectl create -f, and then I go I go secret environment, secret file, and this will show me the files that I want to use. So let's do kubectl get pods, so we can see if that's been created, and it has been. So there's my pod there. So what I'm going to do now is use kubectl exec and do -it, and then the name of the pod that I'm going to get into, and this is going to give me an interactive shell inside this pod, and I can then interact with the particular pod that I'm working with. So I can do ls against this to show you that I'm in the pod. So if I go cd/etc and cd/secret, and I can show you that those two secrets have been set up as files inside of this particular folder in my pod here. So if I do cat password, it's going to show me password 123. That's the secret that I set up here inside of this command. And then if I do the same for username, I would get the username back as well. And the username is Blaze. So this is how I'd access these using a file. So let's go ahead and do kubectl delete -f, and let's delete that particular file, this particular pod, and that will get rid of the, I need to get out of the pod first, and let's go get pods. Let's delete this instead of create it. And now I'm going to create the same pod, essentially, that is created when I use the create command. And this time, though, I'm going to use the other one where I'm using environment variables. So let's go ahead and take a look at that particular file here. And I already have it pulled up. And this particular one is using BusyBox as well. But in this case, instead of using a volume that's mounted into the file system, I'm going to be using secrets that are part of the environment here. And I'm going to be specifying the name of the environment variable that I want to set. And then this is going to give me the reference from, and it's going to get it from a secret in this case. So app login was the name of the secret that I created. The key was username. So that's going to be assigning the key from the value from username here to this environment variable called username here, and the same for password right here. So it's going to get the same effect regardless of whether, which one I'm using here. And I can quickly deploy this. So let's go back over to my shell, and we can quickly deploy this one, and it will basically create another BusyBox container that I can get into, and I can then do that exact same command that we just saw here. And this time I'm going to type in set, and here I can see all my environment variables that have been set. And notice I have username Blaze and then password 123 for my password here. So environment variables and the file access are two different ways to do this. In most Docker containers, accessing things by way of a environment variable is very useful for configuration, but you can also put things like certificates and other things inside of secrets. So if you can't put a entire environment variable with a secret and certificate encoded in that, you could put that as a mount point on the actual file system, and then that would be read as a file instead of as an environment variable. So we're going to switch over and do a brief demo on where we can actually look at an app that uses this, and that app is going to be WordPress. For this demo, I want to look at this manifest file for MySQL, and it's fairly straightforward. It starts off with a service for exposing MySQL. Here's it setting up a persistent volume claim, and down here is where it gets into the deployment that I'm going to be using for this, and it's using the generic image from Docker Hub for MySQL, so this is not a custom image. And then it's setting up that image to use a password that is set inside of the actual pod that gets created as an environment variable. In this case, the secret will be called MySQL-pass, and the key would be password. And then this particular image is automated in such a way that if that password is set, it will automatically set up the image with the root user and this password as part of that installation process. So it's then going to come down here and start setting up WordPress, which in this case is exposing it as a load balancer. That means it's getting a public IP address on port 80, and then it's using another persistent volume claim. And down here, it's connecting the generic WordPress image on Docker Hub to that instance of MySQL. And for this case, it's going to be using that same password reference inside of this particular pod and exposing that as an environment variable. And what this allows this image to do is automatically configure WordPress to hook up to that particular database if that password is set, so that I don't have to actually manually enter all of these particular parameters whenever I create this. And once this is created, the only thing I'll have to do then is put in the parameters for my blog, and then WordPress will be up and running on Kubernetes. So let's go ahead and run that and see what happens. So to make this work, I'm going to first run the kubectl command to create my secret here. And I'm creating a generic secret called MySQL pass, and it's from a literal, and that's going to be password 123, and that's going to be the actual password I'm going to be using. So this already exists, and that's why this warning was given. But if I didn't have that already in there, it would have given me successfully created. But since it's already there, and I know the value of that, I'm going to then go ahead and run kubectl, and I'm going to do create -f from my manifest file that I just looked at. So let's go ahead and run that, and it's going to run a bunch of commands to create services, persistent volumes, and deployments and pods for everything that I have defined inside of that manifest file. So it should be able to do kubectl get pods, and these are going to be creating. So let's go ahead and wait for these to create. And once those are done, we can then run the setup for WordPress. So it looks like my pods are up and running. I should be able to use the kubectl to get the IP address for this deployment. And so I can do kubectl get service, and the service will then display my external IP address, which is that right there. And I should be able to launch a new browser window and pull that up. And that will launch the installation wizard for WordPress. So I can click through this and just say secret site, and username admin, let's do password 123. Yes, I confirm that's a weak password. Sure, use my email address, discourage. And install WordPress, and that will install WordPress very easily here. And this is all automated. I didn't have to set up any kind of databases because I had used the secret to set the password for both the database and for the WordPress image when it was created. So I didn't have to do any of the parameters for the installation of WordPress. It automatically detected that from environment variables, and then it was able to set that up as a part of the installation process. And here's my little WordPress website, and I can go visit that as well. So again, nothing fancy here, just a simple WordPress site, but you can see how that I can use secrets to automate things using a WordPress installation, as well as other applications running in Kubernetes.
If you like this content, please consider visiting us online at www.wintellect.com, and there you can find about services that Wintellect offers, including training and consulting services. Also, please consider subscribing to this channel by clicking on the subscribe button and clicking the bell icon to get notifications when new content becomes available, and also comment down below. You can also follow me on Twitter at @TheOneMule, and also follow Wintellect on Twitter at WintellectNow or at Wintellect. We are constantly posting things about Azure-related technologies and things related to software development. You can also reach us by email at consulting@wintellect.com. Until next time, thank you.